Story 1. I helped my brother leave his bride at the altar because she invited our mother. We are 34, 32, and 28. Israel is 30. Not in the US. I have 2 older brothers. This is about the middle one. Our parents divorced when I was very young due to our mother's insane jealousy. At first, my dad was able to handle it, but when she started making comments about me wanting to be like his wife, he had enough. She quickly rebounded with a guy with 2 kids and had shared custody for a while. But when my dad got remarried, she went crazy, calling his new wife every horrible name and claiming he was cheating on her while they were married. I was always closer to my brothers and dad than my mom because she was always very mean to me. Long story short, my stepmom died in a bad car accident, and my dad called her in the middle of the night letting her know he would pick us up earlier so we could attend the funeral. And she decided to take us on a fun trip to celebrate something. It was the happiest we've ever seen her, and when we realized what happened and started crying, she told us only worthless people cry for **res. Needless to say, things went nuclear and my dad asked for full custody with visitation for her. He always left the line of communication open and paid for us to visit her when she moved away, but it was still very bad. And as soon as we turned 18, we started to have less contact with her. The last time we saw her was at my HS graduation where she made a point of letting everyone who would hear we were ungrateful kids, and her HB would call us bad names too. Been NC since then. My brother Sam started dating his ex 3 years ago. She has heard all the stories and the reasons we are NC, but she believes we are just dramatic. They had many issues due to her opinions, but she eventually seemed to drop the "you need to reconcile with your mother" crusade. During the wedding planning, there was no indication of things going wrong or fishy. Then we got to the church and lo and behold, Mom, HB, and 2 kids were sitting at the front. I immediately panicked and called my brothers. Sam thought maybe somehow she found out and wanted to crash, so he called his ex to let her know of the potential drama, but she told him it was fine since she invited them. Sam hung up and asked me to go get him while oldest brother dealt with things at the church. We went home and barricaded ourselves there, even when his ex, her family, friends, etc. came to try and make sense with him. Mom's HB even called and said he always knew we were worthless. Now that the dust is settled, most of Sam's friends are on his side and so is most of our family. Dad's ex's parents already threatened to sue for the money they paid if he doesn't marry her. But Sam says he'd rather pay them back for their contribution than marry someone who betrayed him. My nuclear family 100% supports Sam, but the backlash has been huge. Edit. You guys just reassured us all. Thank you. Some have commented about it, but no, she has not apologized. She even went so far as to text my oldest brother Joe that she thought it would be a good wedding present for my brother to her since she values family. My dad bought them a house as a wedding present, but only Sam is on the deed. She did have keys for when they moved there, but they just had the locks changed today, and Joe and some cousins are taking everything Sam owns from her flat during this week. We aren't worried about being sued, but we'll consult a lawyer just in case. We also heard Mom and her family are still in town, but since we are all staying at our childhood home for a few days, we don't care. My dad is sad that Sam is heartbroken but is trying to cheer him up along with my boyfriend and my SIL. I had to delete/deactivate my SM because I kept getting nasty comments and messages, but the more people learn the reason Sam ran away, the less it gets. I am still sorry she felt humiliated, but my brother comes first. Edit 2. I asked Joe about the church's aftermath, and it was just as I expected it. He says he stood up in front of everybody and told them Sam was not coming and to please go home and all their gifts delivered to our side of the family will be given back ASAP. The ex was still outside the church when someone in her family informed her, and she started screaming and crying and calling Sam nonstop. Mom tried to talk to Joe. He didn't even look at her, and when she couldn't get a reaction out of him, she started crying loudly and lamenting how horrible we are to her, and some people started consoling her. This is her MO, but Joe and his wife didn't care. When they went out of the church, the ex was expecting them and demanding to see Sam, but Joe said no. Then she demanded to know what to do with the party, and he said if she didn't want the venue, he would arrange for the food to be donated to the staff there so it wouldn't go to waste. Everybody was screaming except Joe because he didn't want to give Mom the satisfaction. Then Joe plus Sil came home after stopping at the supermarket and some fast food joints, and we have been inside like we are kids again plus 2 more members. We asked Sam if he wanted them to go, but he said he wanted them there. We had all taken time off to spend family time after the wedding anyway, so it's not a problem at the moment. When the ex came to the gate, we knew she was not going to use the venue, so my S called them with Sam's info, told them to take the food, and also sent them some tips for their trouble. It seems we will get back all the alcohol that my dad paid for, so we will have a very drunk end of the year. A couple of people messaged me asking why did our dad ever married our mom, and the answer is he really loved her and believed she was the nicest person ever. Turns out she wasn't, but she knew nobody except, I guess, her nasty husband would marry her unless she pretended to be nice. He considered staying with her until we were adults, but she kept getting worse. She used to get very nice and he thought she was changing, and then she would change again. As for my ex-Sil, we have no doubt that she believes mom is a nice person who has ungrateful children because she is extremely charming, and for some people it's funny to make fun of others as long as it's not directed at them. But it still doesn't excuse X. The only person Sam gave an explanation was his boss, who was at the church, but he is very understanding and was pretty shocked of what mom put us through since we are fairly adjusted, happy people. Our dad said that it was a shock for all of us and we can stay home as long as we need. Sam is moving home for the time being. I showed my family the post and they are moved by your niceness. But Sam wants you all to know X wasn't showing any concerning behaviors and he truly believed she understood his upbringing. He agreed to talk to her and her parents today, but only if it's at our home and we are there to support him, so it's going to be an interesting visit. Update to my runaway brother. First, some extra info. Sam lost some money, but it's not going to hurt him. Her parents paid for her dress, a very fancy cake, and part of the honeymoon. X wasn't the most beloved in-law, but we truly believed she loved Sam. We have no contact with mom's side. Joe used to have some with grandma, but after his wedding, another show, he cut her off too. Mom's comments about me wanting to be the wife came from her belief that it was not right for us to have daddy-daughter days or outings. The thing is, there were also Daddy Joe days and Daddy Sam days. He always tried to spend time with us alone and as a group. She is just sick. We don't advertise our childhood. So when people ask us about our parents, the standard answer is, just my dad. Or, it's just my siblings and my dad. Most people assume mom is dead, and it helps avoid the whole inquiry about not talking to her. Mom's stepkids are both male and in their early 30s. Dad has a long-term girlfriend, and we like her a lot. She has been doing her own stuff these past few days, but she says we have her full support. Now the update. I was wondering why Sam accepted the meeting after not even talking to her, but turns out she sent videos and photos of all his things on the floor to his best friend Tom and told him that Sam either talked to her or she would burn/destroy it all. Tom came to visit. Sam told him what happened, and they informed her they needed access to the flat before anything happened. Tom, Joe, a couple of cousins, and my BF went and took his clothes, electronics, and important paperwork. Sam said he didn't care about the rest and even made a little joke about them being the fastest moving crew he knew. The meeting was, for lack of a better word, a ridiculous event. She came with her parents and sisters and tried to talk to Sam alone, but when he didn't allow it, she just started talking. Not once did she apologize. She said it's not her fault, we don't understand the value of a real family and we were raised to hate mothers. That her only intention was for Sam to learn to value mothers because she was scared he would take her children away from her because that is what he was taught to do. Sam didn't say anything until she threw, "This family is like a cult and you are a terrible father," looking at my dad. As you may imagine, this is a sore spot for all of us, and we don't allow insults towards our dad under any circumstance. Sam just unloaded about how she was a hateful liar. He was disgusted he ever touched even her hand. He was grateful to the universe that I am chronically early to everything. He told her staying with a cheating husband as her mom does is nothing to be proud of. He said she pretended to be nice just so he would marry her, unloaded all the minor things that he was willing to overlook because he truly did love her, or at least who he thought she was. He said he would never forgive her for the hurt she caused his siblings, but he doesn't hate her because that would require him to spend energy thinking about her, and she doesn't get that. In the end, he said she had enough time to clear things up, and since she has acted like a victim, he will be the one to let everybody know why he didn't show. It was brutal but cathartic and necessary for Sam. Her parents said nothing but were very red. She was crying. Her sisters attempted to defend her and their parents' relationship and were kind of expecting my whole family to argue too. But we didn't. Then Sam told his ex-FIL he could sue if he wanted. But if he did, Sam would expose all his family's dirty laundry to the world, and he doubts he wants that. Amazingly, the dad still argued Sam could try and make amends and marry his ex because they are not getting any younger and all families fight. I've never rolled my eyes harder. The rest of the meeting went about logistics for the return of the wedding gifts already received, stopping the harassment from their family, the cancellation and refund of the honeymoon, the changing of the locks. Ex just kept crying and trying to talk to Sam, but he was in business mode and didn't want anything from her. He only replied to her directly when she said she was keeping her engagement ring with nobody asked for it. They left without issues. When the booze was delivered, Mom and her husband sneaked through the gate when we opened it. She said she just wanted to talk to her babies, and my dad asked her to leave. She kept screaming he raised us wrong and we just embarrassed her with our behavior. She couldn't believe we were such bad people and we should start making amends with her because we clearly lack maternal love. She got that right and this was the pathetic result. At that point, Joe went out and told her to leave since the police were on their way. She took it as an opportunity to cry since it's the first time in about a decade he talked to her and tried to sweet-talk him into going to grab dinner with her and her husband. But Joe just told her to leave and the only news he ever wanted to hear related to her were the ones about her funeral so he could go celebrate. Cue hysterical crying and screaming from the husband demanding an apology and threatening to hit Joe. Dad and Joe went back inside and left them there until we saw they left and closed the gate. It is hard for some people to understand why we react like we do, but the things I wrote about our mother are just like the tip of the iceberg. Dad wasn't exactly proud of what Joe said, but he understood he needed to let it out and he was speaking for all of us. Maybe that makes us bad people, but we truly don't want to see this woman ever again. We are all going to have some family therapy besides our individual ones. Sam doesn't want the house anymore, but my dad says to take it slow and the first step is to mend his heart. We have had horror movies marathons and some Disney classics sprinkled here and there. We also had a drama bingo thing going on of all the things that could possibly happen because I guess we are truly dramatic after all. We love each other and we were raised to treat people well, but we can be petty when pushed. I also feel better knowing she humiliated herself, and while I wouldn't wish to be left at the church to anybody, I would do it again because I love my brother more than I feel bad for her. We will be going on a family trip eventually, but right now we will continue our staycation. To the person who said Joe is a hero, his siblings couldn't ask for a better brother and friend. We've read everything so far. Thank you for letting me vent, the awards, the PMs. I am sorry if my English was not up to the standards. Joe and Sam's names are obviously fake, but Daniela, go yourself. Little note. My brothers are reading your messages and comments. They want you to know we know how lucky we are. They appreciate the positivity, want you to know it gets better for those in the same boat, and you are all welcome to our cult. Update 2. First, more clarifications. If you want a PM, it's fine, even if it is to insult us. Please know I will only answer in public form. Joe wasn't parentified. To the person who wrote me a mean essay about it, here is the answer. My brothers spent time with me because they wanted to. We had special days together or with each other. They did all the activities they wanted, had many friends, went on trips with me or alone, etc. There were nannies, family, my dad. They were never forced to take me with them against their will. They had a lot of freedom within reason. My parents divorced when I was 3, and even if there was shared custody, we stayed 90% with Dad and we never went to visit our mother unless we were in at least pairs. The only times Joe or Sam visited her after turning 18 was when I was requested to visit, because they didn't want me to go alone. We have all been in therapy for a very long time. We are just having special sessions because we saw our mother, but Joe is the only one who interacted with her. Also, please know we, Sam plus I, know how to defend ourselves and didn't ask Joe to confront her. He did it by himself. Why didn't my dad go to the church with Joe? Because he was asked by Sam to go home. We didn't think he needed to see the woman, even if he had to talk to her after. Sam has cried. He is not a monster. He is heartbroken, thought he would spend the rest of his life with Daniela, thought he was a good judge of character, though he didn't have to see our mother ever again. There are many emotions going on, but because of our upbringing, we are very good at keeping our emotions in check in front of people we don't trust or like. It was a survival skill we developed to deal with how we were treated. Joe had a relationship with Grandma but stopped talking to her after she invited Mother as her +1. There was no religious ceremony. The venue had security and there was a no-entry list. He sent Grandma a letter and didn't talk to her again. We also didn't attend her funeral. The wedding was about 250 guests. When making the wedding list and seating chart, she used other names, which is how we didn't know about it. Daniela is not Brazilian. My dad requested that I inform you all that his kids are not alcoholics. He is worried about people thinking like that even if this is anonymous LOL. Anyway, this week has been really chaotic. Those who said to be prepared for the pregnancy tactic were incredibly accurate. She posted it online. People were freaking out again and calling Sam asking him if it was true. Sam called her and asked that she delete it. She continued claiming she was pregnant. He asked her to delete it and to come talk about it. She deleted it, met up with Sam, and somehow this crazy woman thought he wanted her back. I went with Sam. She was very happy until she saw me enter the place. She started crying, holding her stomach, and when Sam asked her if she really was pregnant, she said yes and told him she didn't want her child to be from a broken family. Sam told her they were going to the doctor immediately to know for sure, and she cried even more, screaming he didn't trust her. Long story short, she isn't pregnant, but she posted Sam was forcing her to have an abortion and she was devastated. As you may imagine, this was a horrible thing to say. People were calling Sam because they are so whiplashed by the drama that they didn't know what to believe anymore. When my SIL Anna found out about the posts in the meetup, she called Daniela. I am unsure what was said in that conversation, but I also never saw Anna this angry. The posts are down, but Anna wrote an email with all relevant information including that Daniela was never pregnant and sent it to everybody on the wedding list. This morning we heard Daniela had a breakdown after leaving voicemails telling Sam if she couldn't be with him, she wanted to die. This is another tactic straight out of our mother's playbook, and Sam simply called the police and told them what happened. Her family forced her into therapy and she is in observation right now. It brings us no pleasure that it came to this, but we don't want to get involved anymore. We are also changing our numbers, already requested it. Our mother emailed Anna threatening to sue her for defamation regarding the email blast, but we are not worried about it either. Anna's parents are amazing and they have made it perfectly clear they are on our side and 100% agree with the way she handled things. Joe was enraged but Anna convinced him to let it go and simply move on. Mother's husband has been a peach as usual. Dad is considering a restraining order, but they are not great in our country. We did have a get-together at home yesterday and it was a lot of fun. There was karaoke, dancing, nice food and drinks, games and a bouncy house because why not? We love them. Most people avoided the topic of the wedding and the posts, but those who brought them up did so tactfully. Dad had already given away a lot of the alcohol to his employees. They got to choose what they wanted and got a bottle each. He is also adding bottles to his Christmas baskets this year. We are going to spend the holidays together and traveling. I told Sam about the new paint for the house, but he just doesn't want to live there. He will rent it. I made a joke about me simply eloping or not having a proper wedding to avoid drama, and Joe told me in no uncertain terms I get the biggest party ever if I chose to. So yeah, he is still the best. Thank you for your nice comments and messages. Not thanking the mean ones. The awards, and the interest. Sorry to the nice Danielas out there, it wasn't for you. Holiday update. Thank you for all your interest. You are very nice and it's always a blast logging in and updating you on our cult. First some points. Hi best sub and YouTube, you're part of the family lore now. I do read every single comment, message, etc. Some commented I particularly lacked a feminine figure in my life, but I had my grandma, aunts, etc. My dad's girlfriend Rita is not a mother figure, and I don't feel I'm a bad woman because of it. When I had my period and told my dad, he had a whole thing prepared. Then he informed my brothers and each had a whole thing prepared themselves. They each had their own approach and the others didn't know about it. Long story short, I had 3 men taking care of it and even doing a presentation about it. It might sound super awkward, but it was even more awkward for them. It is a hilarious story and reminds me how much they thought about me all the time. Rita is amazing and we love her, but she has no problem not being married to my dad. My dad doesn't want to get married again. If he did, we would support him. Daniela is okay. Her sisters tried to make a huge drama and accuse us of being horrible, but after the email sent by Anna, nobody is buying it. One of them was also dumped by her boyfriend because he didn't want to be related to a toxic family. I will not disclose where we live or what our dad does for a living, so please don't ask about it again. We have new numbers, new SM handles, and are planning to move. Joe plus I also do have a little note with fake real names relation and do type my posts in Word. It's mainly so I don't mess up my ramblings. My dad wants you all to know your applications to the cult have been accepted. Anyway, I checked the last update and I can't believe it was only in early November. I have mainly good updates for you. Sam is doing well. He is taking time off work. His boss is very understanding about him needing time and told him he can always come back there. He is still living with dad and has savings, so he is not worried about that aspect. He is running now and has decided to run a marathon next year. He is more and more his goofy self and is doing renovations at home, or in other words, Dad and Sam are trying to paint some rooms and do murals. It is hilarious and they have a lot of fun. Daniela wrote him a letter but he sent it back. The house was put on the market as a rental and he is okay with it. I am engaged. It turns out it has been months in the making, and when I made the joke about eloping, my future husband Matt panicked. I discovered the plan. He spoke with Sam, who already knew of the plans because he didn't want to make him uncomfortable, but Sam said it would actually make him uncomfortable if he didn't. He also spoke with Joe and my dad. My dad made him sweat when he asked for my hand, saying it was not his to give, but they say it was all in good fun. It happened earlier this month. I am very excited, but not as much as my dad. He says he wants to walk me down even if it is a civil wedding. While my news are amazing, I believe the other big news around are better. Joe and Anna have been on the adoption list for a while, and as of a couple of weeks ago, they have a baby. She is the most beautiful, sweet, best baby ever. The adoption is final, as it usually is in our country for newborn or almost newborn babies. We knew they wanted to adopt for a while, so when they told us about the baby being officially theirs, it was a lot of crying, but happy crying. Dad is in full grandpa mode, and even as bad as some things got this year, this is the best thing that happened to our family this year. Mom did learn about the baby and demanded an introduction. She has been served our version of an order of protection. She is never putting her eyes on her if we can help it. Those are the bad news. Due to the new COVID, we decided to stay home. Now with the new baby, we wouldn't travel, of course. We had a Christmas/welcome baby/engagement small gathering last weekend, which Joe and Anna didn't attend since she is too young, but they were there via Zoom. We all agreed to give Sam some goofy gifts such as t-shirts, mugs, sweatshirts, etc. of Julia Roberts since, he is the runaway bride of the family. The reason Joe and I are considering moving is that we live in flats at the moment and we want to live in houses. We are still shaken up and we know we have work to do. But we know we have so much and we want to focus on it because the negative is in the minority, and no matter what happens, I'm always grateful for my family. I believe this will be the last update, folks. I know the last ones have been mainly drama-free and might not be as exciting, but we aim for that. Not planning on deleting anything. The account will be here in case something worth updating happens. I wish you all the best end of the year and an amazing 2022. 2022 catch up. Hi cult. I guess we should catch whoever still wants to know what is going on with the cult up. Not to lose the rhythm, first some points. Due to popular demand, yes, our native language is Spanish. Adoptions are final in our country, done by the government, and we rarely get situations like open adoptions. Joe plus Anna had been waiting for a bit since they decided that is how they wanted to have kids together. I said habemus, as in we have, like when they announced the Pope LOL. We are now 35, 33, and 29. HB was supposed to mean husband, but I love the huge bastard interpretation. It works both ways honestly. Joe plus I moved as we planned last year. The year has been pretty good, just minor drama around. Daniela can still go herself though. Anyway, let's do the kind of bad news first. Daniela came back with a swing we were not expecting. She is pregnant and claims to whoever would listen that Sam is the dad. Sadly for her, it is literally impossible for him to be the father since he was not even in the country when the baby would have been conceived, but she had no way of knowing that. Sam has offered repeatedly to have a paternity test done, but she refuses. Sam is safe legally. He just feels bad for her baby. Daniela's dad did sue Sam for the emotional distress of two of his daughters, Daniela and the one the boyfriend left. But nothing happened since we dealt with it. Surprise, Joe is a lawyer. It is relevant info for this catch-up, I promise. Sam decides not to do anything against him since he has too much on his plate and feels pity for the family. Mother still insisted on meeting the baby, but that will never happen. She undusted one of her favorite tactics. She has cancer. She contacted Joe plus Anna through their work emails and begged them to help out with meeting the baby since she is so sick. Most likely would need a transplant of something, etc. You'll see, this is like the 5th time she has cancer, but in reality, she has had cancer a total of 0 times. She loves the attention, the suffering, the drama, and all that good stuff bad people like to bring out of others. We never believed her, of course, but what we didn't expect was that she would make a fool of herself when she contacted Anna's mom on FB. Anna's mom is a lovely, good Catholic lady, so Mother must have assumed she would be easy to manipulate. She told her about her cancer and how heartbroken she was to not meet baby. Anna's mom proceeded to ask a couple questions about the diagnosis and treatment, which made no sense as expected. Then she blocked her and posted the screenshots on her wall. It is like high school drama, only it's with older folks and it has hilarious comebacks. Baby is otherwise very happy and very healthy, and the only controversy regarding her was the question of what would Rita be called. Not by Rita, but by our mother who claimed Rita had no right to be called Grandma. Joe plus Anna talked with Rita and they all agreed for all intents and purposes. She is Grandma Rita and Mother can do nothing about it. Sam is doing well. He quit his job and started something on his own. He's still living at the family home, renting the other house and kind of seeing someone. She is nice, knows about all the stuff, makes amazing cakes, and knows how to knit. We like her, so we are both positive and cautious. They are taking it slow, but it's nice to see him with someone like this. He also kept on painting rooms with Dad and the results are, please remember I love these two. Embarrassingly funny, ridiculous, and like something you do in kindergarten. Dad got COVID for the first time and he got so scared he decided to update his will. That's why Joe's profession is important. They wanted Sam and I to know about it when they finished it up. Everything he owns is divided into 4. His kids and the other quarter to any grandchildren. However, the family house is not to be divided and is going to be put in my name soonest. I was a bit confused, but Joe plus Dad discussed it and wanted me to have it if and only if Sam agreed. He did and is very happy about it. They didn't really offer many explanations other than it was the right thing to do. I sense a little because I'm the baby there, but it's okay. Joe bought a house in the same neighborhood as our family home. Thus, even if they are not in the same block or anything, they're close by. We, Matt plus I, are not buying anything anymore since I will be getting the house and would make no sense. We moved to the family home and it has been interesting but nice. Dad has started semi-retirement and spending more days at Rita's, so it works for everybody. Sam will of course get to stay there as long as he wants, but his murals would have to go lol. We are still engaged, still happy, still enjoying babysitting, and still not pregnant but got a cat during the spring. We are planning a December wedding and couldn't ask for a better end of the year. So that's it. No drama, or at least not huge drama. We are moving forward and healing continuously, which is the way we like it. In case you wonder why I decided to post now, one of us is a huge fan of Best of Redditor updates and we got reminded about the posts. Anyway, greetings from the cult and we wish you all a good last few months of 2022. 2023 catch up. Hello Reddit. First, as it's tradition, we now have 2 cats. Sam moved in with his GF and we just love that he's happy again. Dad is semi-moved in with Rita. It has been bittersweet, but overall we remain positive and supportive of each other. Let's do the bad news first. It turns out that there was indeed cancer on our mother's side, just not hers. One of her stepchildren actually had it and passed away at the beginning of the year. She is milking it for all it's worth and we are disgusted by her as usual. While we can empathize with the loss, we are not changing our stance on being NC with her and her whole family. Daniela had her baby, a very cute boy that is not Sam's. Not that we ever doubted that. She did try to make him recognize him and sign stuff, but he refused, and after the test, there was nothing she could do. She did lose it when she heard Sam was seriously dating, and even worse when he moved in with his GF. She still believes he is the one for her and is fixated on it. Tried to cyberbully the GF, but this woman is made of something else. Oh, and yes, the father of her child is the married coworker in his 50s, which is another show from what we've heard, but not ours. Sam moved in with his GF. He's still in therapy, we all are, but doing much better. His GF is a very well-liked and beloved member of the family. She understands everything that has happened and integrated perfectly. He is also doing great in other areas, and he did run his first marathon. Not the best timing, but hey, he did it. Joe plus Anna plus the baby are very happy. They are still on the list as interested to adopt since they would like to have at least another one. I also wanted to explain something again. In my country, the adoptions are not done by agencies. You get on a list after some tests and interviews to see if you are a good candidate, and when it happens that you match, you get the baby. That baby is yours and that's it. I know I am still a bit vague, but please remember we are not from the US and things are different in each country. Apart from that, the baby is just the best baby ever. Yes, I might be biased, but she also gets told no a lot because we all agree that she should not be spoiled or, well, too spoiled. She has a room at our house, Rita's, and a playing pen at Sam's because they are looking for a permanent house and they do a home office. Dad is basically living with Rita. She is pretty happy about it and they took a couple of trips recently. They love being grandparents and are very hands-on. They now claim 3 grandbabies since the cats sometimes go there too. It is hilarious because my dad was not so warm to the idea of cats at first, but now he even takes photos of all his babies and he prints the best ones because that's what he's used to. He also shares progress updates with his friends and sometimes they are confused if he's talking about the cats or babies since he gets so excited about anything they do and he buys them all too many toys in my opinion. But apparently that's what a grandpa does, lol. We did get married in December. My dad walked me down even if we did non-traditional stuff for my country. Joe was Matt's best man. Sam was my best maid. He insisted on being called Julio the whole planning process when it was about the wedding. Mother did try to come and tried to convince Anna's mom about it, but she would not tell her anything. Some of Mother's relatives said it was undignifying, unsure if it's the right word, to have Rita there instead of my own mother. But well, I think it is disgusting to condone her actions, so to each their own. We had a blast and it was not stressful at all. Nobody ran away, nobody cried of sadness, nobody tried to make a scene. We are remodeling a part of the house to make it more ours and not to be at my childhood bedroom anymore, but so far everything is going very well for the cult. Sam got slightly fewer Julia Roberts gifts, but he wears his t-shirts with pride all year round. On the last bit, Sam's GF has approached us with the idea of proposing to Sam when the time is right, so who knows, maybe this time he actually makes it to the altar. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Before we start, if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Now let's continue. Would I be the a-hole if I broke up with my girlfriend for humiliating me? I've been with my girlfriend C for 4 years. We got together during our freshman year of college. We moved in with each other and grew really close, almost inseparable during the pandemic. I wanted to marry this woman up until last night. C has been under a lot of stress from work and her family during the last few months. Her dad is cancer and I know it hasn't been easy on her. She's been drinking more, and while I don't mind her drinking, it's how she gets when she's intoxicated that's the problem. She has a tendency to get pretty mean and say some awful things, such as making fun of my appearance or telling me how small my member is. She makes me feel like I'm not enough for her intimately or emotionally. She's also almost always apologetic the next morning and will spend the next few days after trying to fix things, but will turn around and do it again whenever she drinks. It really came to a head last night when I took her and her friend out to a local bar. I volunteered to be their designated driver for the night because my girlfriend's driving while intoxicated before and I didn't want her to make that choice again. I told her that I didn't want her to drink too much and she agreed that she wouldn't. The bar was packed when we got there, so we all went and sat at the bar and ordered some food and drinks. When I left to go to the bathroom, I came back to my girlfriend's dreaming, and as I walked up to see what was going on, I heard her telling her friend that her ex was the biggest she'd ever had and that she missed it. I pretended not to hear it because I knew she wasn't in her right mind. A guy who had been sitting at the table near us had asked my girlfriend if I was the guy who had constantly left her unsatisfied, and I immediately felt like I was going to be sick. These guys were laughing at me, and I asked to see if she was serious while she kept laughing, so I just grabbed my keys and walked out. I left both her and her friend there at the bar, and I drove home. I immediately packed up my essential stuff and went to stay with a close friend for a few days. I didn't get any texts from C until about an hour after I left them there asking me where I was. I then got a bunch of missed calls and texts that weren't anything but angry. I answered one call and she was still slurring her words, and when I heard that she was still in the bar, I hung up and turned off my ringer. I woke up to a stream of apology texts and more missed phone calls. She apologized and said she had messed up and was wondering when I was coming home, telling me that I do satisfy her and that I'm more than enough for her, but honestly at this point, I'm done. I feel humiliated and embarrassed. I don't want to go back home. I love her, but I feel really humiliated, and it seems like she doesn't respect me as a man or partner. Would I be the a-hole if I broke up with her over this? Now on to the next story. Story 3. My husband told me he hopes I pass away during surgery. I'm getting a gastric bypass in 2 weeks. I've had this plan for over a year. When I got my insurance, it was a snap decision, but my weight has been an issue my whole life, and my general practitioner has been pushing me to get the surgery after multiple failed attempts at trying to lose it myself, on top of the multiple health issues that have only gotten worse due to my weight. A year ago, I made the decision during my lunch break to get health insurance, and the fortnightly payments have pretty much kept me motivated in my journey to better myself because it costs so much money. My husband was angry when I called and told him I signed up for the insurance. He told me it was a waste of my money and I didn't need to lose weight, but after a short argument between us, he didn't bring it up again. Months went by and I forgot about it because I had a whole year to wait before I could actually do anything, but I was taking steps to better myself in other areas. I started dressing nicer. I went into a clothing store for the first time in a decade and spent nearly $1,000 on a new wardrobe, which sounds like a lot, but I've hated myself for too long, only wearing t-shirts and joggers. I also went to the hairdresser for the first time in 6 years and started my bachelor's of data science. I have completely taken this as a chance to become a new person. I want to come out of this being proud of who I am and not just the same me in a skinnier body. My husband hasn't supported it at all. Every step of the way, he's only told me what I'm doing wrong, whether it be the fact that I'm spending too much money, the clothes I wear don't look good, or I'm not smart enough to do data science. I've ignored it all because I thought maybe if I improved myself, it would motivate him to do the same. He doesn't even need to get a better job or anything like that, but maybe he could cook more or do stuff around the house or take care of things I can't because I'm so busy, but he won't. We're in our mid-20s. We can do anything we want. Our life isn't over yet. We've only just started it, and he doesn't have to spend the rest of his life doing nothing, yet he chooses to. The closer we got to my surgery date, the more he would send me videos of patients telling their stories going wrong to scare me out of doing it. He would tell me statistics of me gaining weight back, and then I'll probably still be fat, so there's really no point in me going through with this. After about a week of this, I snapped, and an argument ensued. I called him lazy and said that if he's living off my money, I don't know why he feels the need to complain so much. He told me he hoped I wouldn't wake up from the surgery and walk down. He won't answer my calls now, and I think in 2 weeks I'm going to come out of surgery with a flatter stomach and no husband. Now on to the next story. Story 4. My parents have never liked me. Back in the day, my mom and dad were the classic high school love story, you know? Prom king and queen vibes. They were totally into each other and had these big, wild dreams of jetting off to see the world right after they got their college diplomas. They wanted to experience everything, from eating street food in bustling cities to exploring ancient ruins. But then, out of nowhere, life threw them a curveball. My mom found out she was expecting a baby while they were both still in college, deep in study mode and far from ready to be parents. They had a tough choice to make, and at first they leaned towards not having the baby. However, their parents, my soon-to-be grandparents, were totally against that idea. They insisted that the baby, aka me, had to be born. Because of the unexpected baby news, My mom's college experience took a major hit. She couldn't deal with the whispers, the stares, and the gossip that followed her around campus once people found out she was pregnant. So she made a tough decision to leave college and move back in with her parents. That's the scene where I make my entrance into the world. My mom, well, she didn't exactly throw a welcome party for me. She was pretty upset, to be honest. But on the flip side, my grandparents were over the moon about me. They showered me with all the love and care in the world. For a big chunk of my early years, I was under the impression that my mom was actually my older sister. The concept of her being my mom didn't click because, well, she hardly acted like one. She was mostly out of the picture, doing her own thing, and whenever I tried to snag a bit of her attention, I didn't get the warmest response. Screaming or ignoring me were her go-tos. And my dad? He was like a ghost to me. I knew I had a dad somewhere out there, but he was so absent that he might as well have been a character from a story. Despite all this, my parents were still a couple. They stuck together through the storm, navigating their relationship while dealing with the reality of having me, an unplanned child. Now, don't get it twisted. I totally understand that having me was not part of their master plan. They were young, had dreams, and suddenly had to face a huge responsibility they didn't sign up for. I was just a little kid who couldn't grasp why there seemed to be this invisible wall between us. I didn't get why they weren't more involved or why there wasn't that typical parent-child bond you'd expect. It was a tough pill to swallow, growing up feeling more like an outsider in my own family rather than a part of it. So even though things were pretty rocky with my mom and dad, my grandparents on both sides were pretty awesome. They would hang out with me, look after me when needed, and were just generally cool people to be around. By the time my dad got his college degree, I was already toddling around and starting to chat a little. It seems like seeing me grow up sparked something in him, maybe a bit of guilt or realization that he wasn't around much. So he began visiting me every weekend. At first, I didn't really know who he was. I just thought he was another friend of my grandparents. My mom wasn't thrilled about these visits. She'd tell my dad it was better to just leave me be, but my grandparents thought differently. They encouraged him to spend time with me to build a bond, and that's how I finally figured out he was my dad, not just some guy who popped in now and then. Once my dad landed a job, things moved pretty quickly. He asked my mom to marry him and they got their own place. Then my dad had this idea that I should live with them so we could be a proper family. My mom wasn't into this idea at all, but my grandparents, who were getting up there in years, really pushed for it. They wanted my parents to own up to their responsibilities. So, with a lot of back and forth, my parents finally agreed to take me in. I was 5 years old when I moved in with them, and let me tell you, it was not fun. I really didn't like living there. It felt like I was moving from a warm, loving home with my grandparents to a cold, unwelcoming place with my parents. So moving in with my mom and dad was like stepping into a totally different world, and not in a good way. Imagine going from a sunny, happy place to a dark, stormy one overnight. That's how it felt for me. Every day, my mom would make it super clear that I should feel lucky just to be living there. If I messed up or did something she didn't like, she'd threaten to kick me out. My dad was pretty much a ghost to me. He worked all day and came home super late. On the rare occasions I tried to hang out with him, he'd just say he was too tired and needed space, basically telling me to go to bed because he couldn't deal with me right then. Life with my grandparents was full of love and warmth, but with my parents, it felt like they couldn't stand me. I was too little to really get why they acted this way, but I definitely felt like I didn't belong there, like I was some kind of burden. While other kids had toys to play with and got treated to ice cream now and then, I got none of that. There were even times I'd show up at school with my homework not done. When this happened, my teacher would call my mom to ask what was up. Then my mom would take it out on me, calling me lazy and saying I needed to take care of my own stuff like my schoolwork. It was a tough spot to be in, especially for a kid. I went from being cherished and looked after by my grandparents to feeling totally out of place and unwanted in my own parents' home. I was super scared of my mom, to the point where I started doing my homework all by myself right after school. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I did everything right, she'd start to see me differently. But that day never came. And my dad? He was like he was in his own world, not caring at all about what I did all day or how I was doing in school. As I got a bit older, I began to notice how different my situation was from other kids. Seeing other parents being super affectionate with their kids at school drop-offs, giving them hugs and kisses, and just generally showing they care. I got none of that. It felt like I was living with two strangers, which was so confusing and made me wonder sometimes if I was even their real kid. Every now and then, I'd ask my grandparents about it when I visited them. They always told me that yes, I was definitely the child of my parents, and tried to explain that my parents just hadn't quite figured out how to be grown-ups themselves yet. On the other hand, my mom didn't miss a chance to say mean things to me. She'd make fun of everything about me, like my hair, my glasses, even my weight. She even said that if she had been in high school with me, she would have bullied me. Hearing something like that from your own mom is just bizarre and hurtful. Living through all of this was incredibly tough. It's like you were doing your best to navigate through a situation where you felt completely out of place and unwanted, which is heartbreakingly difficult for anyone, let alone a kid growing up. So there was this time when the difference between my parents and my grandparents became crystal clear. Because of my milk allergy, my grandparents always knew about it and took it seriously, but my mom? Not so much. She refused to believe I was allergic, thinking I was just trying to be trendy or something. She even said kids back in her day didn't have allergies like that. One day, she pushed me too far, insisting I drink milk. The result? A scary trip to the hospital for me. That incident really shook things up. When the police came to talk to her about what happened, it was like a wake-up call for my mom. She never tried to give me milk again after that. And my dad? Well, he was furious with her. For the first time, I saw him really stand up to her. She even started crying. My grandparents? They were there for me in a heartbeat, rushing to the hospital and staying by my side. There was a lot of serious talking going on while I was getting better. Something about that whole mess seemed to change how my parents acted towards me. My mom began to actually take part in my life, like waking me up for school and helping me get ready. My dad started to make time for me in the evenings, even tucking me in at night. I couldn't really understand what made them switch gears, but suddenly they were treating me more like a person. It was such a strange, unexpected shift after everything that had happened. So after that major wake-up call, things at home started to change for the better. My mom actually began to show interest in my life, asking about school and stuff. My dad, too, started to include me in his activities like watching football games together. It was during these moments that I really began to understand and connect with my parents. I think I was naturally empathetic because, despite everything, I didn't hold any grudges against them. We even started going to the beach together on weekends, which quickly became some of my happiest memories. I stopped feeling envious of my classmates because my parents were beginning to show me affection. It was a big deal when I turned 15. I discovered I had a real talent for crocheting, something my grandma, my mom's mom, had taught me. Sadly, she had passed away by then, but I remembered how she would create these amazing things with her crochet hook and sell them at the local craft fair. She could make a few $100 showcasing her work, which was always so full of vibrant colors and intricate patterns. I was totally drawn into the world of crocheting, spending hours getting better at it, all while thinking about my grandma. Her creativity and entrepreneurial spirit really inspired me. So, taking a leaf out of her book, I decided to start making my own crochet items. It felt like a way to connect with her legacy and also discover my own path in creating unique, personalized pieces. Inspired by my grandma's legacy, I decided to take a leap and set up my own little booth at the same craft fair where she used to shine. The reaction I got was nothing short of amazing. It was clear that what started as a passion could actually turn into a way to make money. Before long, word got out about my crochet work. I started receiving custom orders, not just from classmates and friends, but from people throughout the community. It felt incredible to know each piece I made was special to someone, telling its own story. As my small business picked up, I found myself diving deeper into the craft. I began experimenting with all sorts of yarns, textures, colors, and patterns, challenging what I thought I knew about crochet. My creations transformed from simple items like scarves and blankets to complex pieces of wearable art and home decor that people loved. The more positive feedback and returning customers I got, the more I pushed myself to improve. When I started making good money from my crochet work, my grandma suggested opening a savings account for college. I was proud and excited to share this success with my parents, thinking they'd be impressed with how much I'd accomplished. But their reaction was the complete opposite of what I expected. They were shocked to hear about the money I was making, having dismissed my crocheting as just a silly hobby until then. When they realized it was more than that, they completely rejected the idea. My dad even threatened to destroy all my work, saying he wasn't busting his back at work for my education, just so I could waste my time on what he called stupid things. It was a harsh moment, seeing how differently we viewed my passion and success. Facing such an unexpected twist with my parents over my crocheting success was a real eye-opener. Their reaction to my earnings, demanding the money, and then lashing out at my grandma when I said it was with her, showed their true colors hadn't changed at all. They were the same self-centered people I'd always known. Only now their actions were directly threatening my future and my passion. My grandma stood her ground against them, refusing to hand over the money I'd earned through hard work and creativity. My parents' attempt to claim my earnings as their own was the last straw, making it crystal clear that they hadn't evolved past their selfish tendencies. It was heartbreaking to realize, but it also steeled my resolve not to let their views dictate my life. Understanding the risk of my parents possibly not supporting my college dreams, I knew I had to secure my own future. Crocheting wasn't just a hobby or a small side business anymore. It was my lifeline to a future they might choose not to provide for. So I crafted a plan to ensure I could continue working on my designs and saving for college away from their destructive influence. I began to tell my parents I was spending weekends at my best friend's house, a cover for me to work on my crochet projects at my grandma's place. My best friend was in on the plan, fully supporting me in keeping my passion and business alive despite my parents' disapproval. This lie wasn't something I was proud of, but it was necessary to protect my dreams and work towards a future they seemed intent on jeopardizing. Dealing with my parents trying to control and take the money I earned from crocheting was really tough. I couldn't just let go of my passion or the chance to make money from my successful side hustle, especially since it looked like my parents might not support my college plans. To keep working on my crochet projects and fill orders from clients, I started telling my parents I was spending weekends at my best friend's house. Actually, I was at my grandma's crocheting and working on our business. My grandma played a huge role in all this, helping me grow my business and teaching me so much. I also got into using social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook to show off my work and connect with more people. This move from a small booth at a local craft fair to an online business was huge. My grandma and I even opened a bank account together to keep my earnings safe for college. I trusted her completely, and she was always there for me, unlike my parents, who seemed more interested in using my money for themselves. Then one day, my mom found out about my online business and the fact that I was still doing it even though they didn't want me to. She went through my phone without me knowing and discovered everything. This led to a massive argument, with my parents yelling at both me and my grandma. It was a real mess, but it made me even more determined to work for my future, my way. They demanded that I withdraw all the money I had earned and give it to them since they had raised me and taken care of me all my life. I was on the verge of tears while trying to make them understand that this was for my college and that I wasn't really doing any harm to anyone. My dad screamed that I'd gone behind their back and that he could not trust me anymore. My mother asked me to delete my Instagram page and stood right next to me to check if I was really deleting it. I cleverly deactivated my account instead so that later I could activate my account once I was free from my parents. Then they implemented strict phone restrictions from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. They also started tracking my location and monitoring my entire internet history, with notifications triggered if I searched for anything deemed bad, even innocuous things like shopping for underwear. I was allowed to go out with my friends only twice a week, but I had to come straight home afterward. Otherwise, they would call me and my friends multiple times. Occasionally, I was allowed to hang out with my grandma for a couple of hours after school, but they banned me from doing any crocheting with her. Otherwise, they threatened to take away my phone and internet access. There were so many days that I just wanted to run away, but I was still 17 and had no way out. I requested my parents to let me have a part-time job at the local cafe, which they allowed, but told me that I had to pay them 30% of what I was earning. I agreed without any fights. I would give them 30% of my earnings every week, and the rest 70% I would give to my grandma to deposit in my bank account. My parents would continue to make my life difficult by regularly barging into my room at all times to check my room, go through my chats and emails, and monitor my location. If I didn't listen to them or follow their rules, I was either grounded or they would force me to give them more of my earnings that week. Regardless of what my parents were putting me through, I concentrated on working hard at school and getting good grades. I knew that I needed to get into a good college to escape this life, so I worked my ass off. The night before I was going to turn 18, I packed up whatever it was I had bought for myself and left other things like my clothes and my phone in the room. I made sure to wipe my phone clean so they would not find out anything about me. I also knew my parents would not allow me to take anything that they had brought for me, so I didn't take any of their stuff. The plan was already set. My grandma came to pick me up early in the morning so I could finally move in with her. My parents were shocked to see me moving out and started fighting with my grandma, saying that they were going to involve the police. I told them to go ahead since I was 18 now and could do whatever I wanted. My parents then tried to blackmail me and said how they would tell everyone about what an ungrateful daughter I was, and that everyone would shun me for leaving my parents, but I did not care. They even threatened that they would not help me with college, but I just smiled since I had saved up enough and was even up for a scholarship, so I no longer needed their help. As I walked out of the house, I felt a mix of fear, relief, and determination. Little did I know my journey was about to take an unexpected turn. The first few weeks at my grandma's place were a breath of fresh air. The strict restrictions were lifted, and I could finally breathe without the constant monitoring. The first thing I did was buy myself a new phone and get a new mobile number. Next, I went to the bank with Grandma and took all my relevant documents so I could convert my minor account to an individual account. I was so happy to finally get my own card, an account where I no longer had to ask for anyone's permission. I also reactivated my Instagram account so I could get back to my crocheting business. My grandma was very supportive and even offered me a small space in her house to set up a makeshift studio so I could get back to crocheting. Just a week after I'd moved out of my parents' place, I found out from relatives and old neighbors that my parents had set up a party where they were finally celebrating their independence. Apparently, they were extremely happy that this was the start of their new family, free from the burden of having me around, and were telling people how they finally could live child-free. They had invited other child-free friends and had posted multiple pictures of them laughing and drinking throughout the night with not a care in the world. Initially, the news stung. The fact that my own parents were celebrating my absence just a week after I had left them, showcasing their newfound freedom, felt like a cruel twist of fate. My dad's parents were also shocked to hear them celebrating, and they tried to reach out to me. They would travel a lot in their RV exploring around the country, so it had been years since I had talked with them. When they finally got my new number from one of my cousins, they immediately called me, asking about everything. I told them the truth about what had been happening between me and my parents and how I had left home. They were shocked to hear how my parents had been abusing me. They questioned me why I didn't reach out to them for help, but I told them about how my parents would monitor my phone, so I wasn't allowed to talk to a lot of people except a handful of friends and my grandma. This is when my dad's parents told me about how my parents never wanted me in the first place, but they thought they had changed over the years once I moved in with my parents. They begged me to forgive them for not being there for me through all of this. They also talked with my grandma, who told them about the various fights she had with my parents in order to protect me. After this, my dad's parents took it upon themselves to tell each and every family member about what my parents had put me through. Slowly, the news spread through my relatives and family friends, and everyone started calling me and offering their support. I was surprised to see how sympathetic everyone was to my plight. Some even offered me monetary compensation, but I would refuse and tell them about my crocheting business and how they could help me by spreading the word so I could get more clients. This is how my business started to slowly pick up. During this time, I had been accepted into my dream college with a full scholarship. My life was finally about to change for the better. It wasn't very far from my grandma's place, so I could come and visit her every weekend and spend time with her and work on my crocheting. My dad's parents decided to give me their old car, which needed a bit of repair but was manageable, so it would be easier for me to come back to my grandma's place. During this time, one of my friends who had been working for a local newspaper reached out to me and asked me if she could write a story on me since there were not a lot of young entrepreneurs in our area who had their own business like me, and told me how my story could inspire other youngsters to find their own path. After some thinking, I agreed to sit for an interview. I honestly didn't think it was a big deal since my business still needed a lot of work. But nevertheless, I hoped that if there was a kid out there like me stuck in a toxic environment, I hoped that they would read my story and feel inspired from it. When my story came out, I felt surreal to see my own story in the paper. I know it's a very small achievement to be featured in your local paper, but for the first time in a very long time, I felt proud of the fact that I had worked so hard on my business despite all the difficulties. My grandma was extremely proud of me, and other relatives and friends started reaching out to me, congratulating me for this success. This was a new feeling since my parents had never supported nor complimented me about my hard work while growing up. My parents must have read this story as well, so they called my grandma to scream at her about how I betrayed them by going behind their backs. They told me and grandma that since I had started the business while still living with them, I needed to not only give them credit publicly since relatives had been bashing them ever since I told them about their controlling behavior, but that I needed to share with them my profits as well. They threatened to take me to court, but my grandma told them that I had done all the business under her roof, so they could try going to court over it if they wanted because they would lose. I was so pissed at how my parents were behaving that I wanted to scream and yell at them, but I knew I could not do that. So instead, I organized a small celebration and invited my close family members and friends, so we could celebrate the success of my hard work in business. I was anyways going away to college, so I felt like I deserved one last hurrah with people who genuinely loved me. We had a great time throughout the night. Of course, word got spread to my parents, and I don't know how, but they got their hands on my new number. So they've been texting me about how I'm just an ungrateful daughter and about how they wish they never had me. My dad had even sent a long text about how he spent all his life providing for me, and yet here I was wasting away my money by celebrating with other people. Date 1. When I posted my story on Reddit, I had no idea it would blow up. In just a few days, I've seen my story on TikTok, and it scares me that my parents might find out about this. For my sake, please pray that they don't find out anything. Now, as per the comments, I understand that a lot of people want me to block my parents permanently, and I plan on doing exactly that. However, I do want to send them a final email telling them about everything that they put me through so they know exactly what I have been going through. I am not a doormat like some of you have been calling me. I'm just a kid who had extremely toxic parents, and it's difficult for me to drop them. Society always teaches us about how our parents always want the best for us, but no one ever teaches us about what to do when you end up with toxic parents and how to cut them off. I understand if some of you are blaming me for letting my parents walk all over me, but please do understand that I am young and I'm learning slowly to stand up for myself. Update 2. Hi everyone. Thank you to some of the people who have reached out to me with supportive messages and let me know about similar situations they have gone through. Now, as I had updated earlier, I did write an email to my parents. My grandma also helped me pen down my thoughts more clearly. I'm just going to copy and paste the email content here. Dear Mom and Dad, I've spent a considerable amount of time reflecting on our past, present, and the potential future of our relationship. It's with a heavy heart that I've come to the realization that for my own well-being and growth, I need to sever ties with you both. I have spent my entire childhood yearning for your love and attempting to meet your expectations. But for some reason, I was never enough. Over the years, I've worked tirelessly to understand the reasons behind your apparent dislike for me and strive to be accepted into your lives, but you both never accepted me. From the earliest memories when Mom forced me to drink milk despite my allergies, to the times I felt like a stranger in my own home, your actions have shaped my perception of how toxic our family is. Yet through it all, I held on, hoping for a change, for a connection that never happened. Unfortunately, when I found solace and purpose in crocheting, thanks to Grandma's guidance, I thought it might bridge the gap between us. As I built my business, your attempts to undermine and control me only solidified my decision to break free from the toxic environment. Your insistence on claiming a share of my hard-earned money, threatening legal action, and attempting to control my celebrations only further highlighted how toxic you all are for me. I want you to understand that this decision is not an act of revenge or an act of anger. It's an act of self-preservation, a step towards building a life that is free from toxicity and filled with the love and support that every child deserves. I harbor no ill will toward either of you, but I need to prioritize my mental and emotional well-being. I thank you both for pushing me to become independent and for underestimating the potential within me, and I wish you both the best in your future endeavors. I hope you both are finally happy without me. I request that you respect my decision to not further contact. Let us part ways amicably. I won't lie, but I had tears while writing this email to my parents. I know that I should be strong and remember all the bad things they've done to me, but it's so hard to cut off your parents. As children, we are conditioned to love them, and it's difficult to come out of that thinking. After sending the email, I blocked them from everywhere. In a few days, I'll be going away to college, so I'm a bit nervous about it. My grandma and my dad's parents are going to help me move into my new dormitory. I'm excited about meeting new people and having new friends. And to everyone asking, my crocheting business is doing well, and I won't quit it regardless of my college. I love making unique designs, and this is my passion, so I will work hard to manage it with my studies. This is the only update I have for now. Update 3. Wow, it's been 6 months since my last update. I can't believe it's been so long and how different my life is now. First and foremost, I am thriving in college. The classes are challenging, but I am putting in the effort and maintaining good grades. I know in the long run, despite my crocheting business, I need a college degree to fall back on. I have also made some incredible friends in college. Thanks to them, I even get more orders to crochet. College life has allowed me to explore new horizons and meet different people. It's a refreshing change from the isolation I felt back home. I even have a boyfriend now called Kyle. I mean, it's just been 2 months since we started dating, and we're still getting to know each other. He is a sweet guy, so we will see how this goes. Every weekend, I make it a point to visit my grandma. We've been working from her makeshift studio to fulfill our crochet orders. The business is booming, and the positive response from our clients is overwhelming. It's amazing how pursuing my passion has not only provided financial stability, but also a sense of purpose and fulfillment in my life. As for my parents, it's been a quiet 6 months since my heartfelt email. They haven't attempted to contact me. My grandparents informed me that my parents received a lot of flack from everyone. Hence, they decided to sell everything and move out of the country, likely seeking a fresh start away. I don't know where they are. Truth be told, I don't really care. The fact that they chose to leave without any attempt at reconciliation or even a single apology speaks volumes. I genuinely hope they find happiness wherever they've gone and can pursue the things that they've always wanted to do. It's time for me to focus on my own journey and continue building the life I have always dreamed of. I want to express my gratitude to all of you who've been following my story and offering words of encouragement. Your support has meant the world to me. If there's one lesson I have learned through all of this, it's the importance of surrounding yourself with people who uplift and believe in you. Thanks to my grandma and friends who believed in me, this will probably be my last update. Thank you, everyone. We have reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us your thoughts about the stories in the comments section. Thank you and see you in the next video.